Hi, thank you for joining us on this episode of Sports Bets for Free. My name is Scott Jenkins, your host, just a local sports bettor here in Phoenix, Arizona. And hopefully today with our picks and your picks, it's going to be another profitable day for you. NFL Week 15 coming to you a day early as we do have Saturday games for the first time this season. So Saturday and Sunday slate. We will save Monday for the Monday plays. But let's get into this Saturday and Sunday as we've got a lot of games going on. We'll get started with the first game on Saturday. Bengals, looks like 3-point home favorite, 40.5 total, somewhere around 3.5, 40.5 has been the total. Let's break this down. Nick Mullins going to make his first start for the Vikings. Nick Mullins has started before. Nick Mullins has done nothing, even with a lot better teams than what the Vikings have to offer. Sounds like Justin Jefferson's going to play. Don't know if that matters really a heck of a whole lot in this particular game. Vikings going on the road. I think the last time they went on the road was to Vegas, and they scored a whopping 3 points. Mullins did move the team down the field on the last drive of the game, but that was about it. So how do we break this game down? Browning's been really good at home or on the road. He's gotten, I will say this, he's gotten away with a lot of stuff, as in they seem to throw they throw a ton of screen passes, but nobody's been able to stop them. What do the Vikings do well defensively? The Vikings blitz. What works really well against the blitz? Screen passes. So what we think in this particular game is going to happen is that the Vikings are going to blitz, as they do with Flores at an alarming rate, close to 60%. But I think that the Bengals are going to be set up for that. I think the Bengals will be able to score. The difference is I don't think the Vikings are going to be able to put touchdowns on the board. The Bengals defense has been bend, don't break. They've given up yards, no question about it. But they typically hold you to field goals. And knowing the coach in Minnesota likes to go for it on fourth down when they get in there, I think that's going to be a lot of opportunities missed. If they kick a lot of field goals, I'm not saying they can't win the game, the Vikings, on that retrospect. I just think Mullins is going to be good should be good for an interception. They're going to throw the ball a lot. They can't run the ball. Haven't been able to run the ball all season, so don't seem to be able to run it here. But the Mullins interception prop was a little bit too high to lay any money with that. But we do like the Bengals here. We like the Bengals to score early, and we like them to score often, to be really honest. So we're going to take the Bengals minus 1.5 first quarter, minus 1.5 first half, and minus 3 for the game. We also like Mullins over 35.5 pass attempts, as I think they'll have to throw the ball a ton against this Bengals team in order to move the ball at all. Mixon over 3.5 receptions and over 25.5 receiving yards. And if there would have been anything for their backup running back, I'd have bet him too on receiving yards, as that seemed to be one heck of a combination so far with Browning being the quarterback. Also, we like the Bengals over 10.5 team total first half, as they seem to score, like I said, early and often. We also like Bengals over 21.5 team total. I honestly think 22-17 is probably pretty feasible here. That would give the Bengals a win, obviously, and a cover. But I think they can put up 24-plus points on the Vikings. The Raiders couldn't seem to figure out the pass rush on how to get rid of the ball early and connect on those. Browning has seemed to figure that part out on how to get rid of the ball quickly, and that's what stops the blitz. Stops the pass rush, getting rid of the ball early and often. So we'll run through those Bengals-Vikings plays one more time. Bengals minus 1.5 first quarter, minus 1.5 first half, minus 3 for the game. Nick Mullins for the Vikings over 35.5 pass attempts. Mixon for the Bengals over 3.5 receptions and over 25.5 receiving yards. 4 for 40 seems like a pretty feasible day for Mixon. Bengals over 10.5 team total first half, 21.5 team total for the game on that one there. Next game up, Steelers at Indianapolis against the Colts. Colts are 1.5 point favorite, around 42 total. Let's break this one down here as well. Trubisky, one of the worst quarterbacks maybe I've ever seen in my life. He will get down 21 points before he starts slinging the ball all over the place. The Colts have been a favorite 4 times so far this season. I tell you, ever since Richardson went out, it obviously killed our under 6.5 wins. I think Richardson's not going to pan out overall. But Minshew's done one hell of a job. Probably best backup quarterback in the league. I understand sometimes it looks a little confusing and it doesn't look seamless or effortless like some other teams do. But Minshew seems to get the job done. They're also 4-0 as a favorite, and they're at home. They score more points there. The Steelers, on the other hand, can't seem to run the ball, in which Trubisky can't throw it unless it's to the other team. And then the next part is T.J. Watt and Highsmith. Looks like they both might have practiced today, but are questionable heading into the weekend. So your two best defensive players are also in trouble and might not play. So how do we not take the Colts here? So it's kind of how it boils down to. So we are going to take the Colts. In this particular matchup, we do like actually the Colts. We got quite a few different plays on this without playing the line itself. So we'll get to those. So Steelers, Colts, over 7.5 total first quarter. Over 20.5 first half. Over 42 for the game on that one there. Gardner Minshew, over 231.5 passing yards. Minshew, over 1.5 passing touchdowns. And over 33.5 pass attempts. Trubisky to throw an interception. We also love Pittman in this matchup. Pittman's been rock solid and a monster all season long. So Pittman over 6.5 receptions, over 73.5 receiving yards. We also like Trubisky over 16.5 rushing yards, as he'd probably be running for his life as DeForest Buckner gets back there. So one more time in this Steelers-Colts game. Over 7.5 total first quarter. Over 20.5 total first half. Over 42.5 for the game. Minshew over 231.5 passing yards, over 1.5 passing touchdowns, and over 33.5 passing attempts. This team is different when they have Jonathan Taylor. They run the ball quite a bit more. I think they're going to throw the ball quite a bit against the Steelers. Then we get Trubisky with an interception. Trubisky over 16.5 rushing yards. Pittman over 6.5 receptions. Pittman over 73.5 receiving yards. Colts over 10.5 team total first half. Over 21.5 team total for the game. And we also like them over 2.5 touchdowns, which was also plus money. So there's a lot of plus money in there, especially with Minshew on the passing touchdowns. And then over 2.5 touchdowns as well on that one. But I don't see how the Steelers figure this one out. Now, I do think it's going over because I think there's going to be a couple dumb turnovers that's going to let this game explode offensively. But we'll probably go back and add a Colts play to this as well. But like I said, make sure you check out at the end of every episode, we have a link in the comment section to our Google Sheets, which is a ledger of our plays. We have a ton of NFL plays, so make sure you do go check that out. Probably going to have to go back and add some Colts magic to this one as well on that. Third game up, the night game for Saturday, is going to be the Broncos at the Lions. Lions currently around 4.5 point favorite, total around 48, depending on what book you're at on this. It is Ford Field. Ford Field at night, so expect scoring. It's just the way that it seems to always happen with the Lions here. So we'll get started with the plays we've got here. So we've got Jared Goff to throw an interception. Jared Goff over 33.5 pass attempts. Goff over 253.5 pass yards. Sam Laporta over 4.5 receptions. Jahmyr Gibbs over 26.5 receiving yards. Lions over the 13.5 team total first half. Lions over 26.5 team total for the game. Lions Broncos over 8.5 total first quarter, over 23.5 total first half, and over 47.5 for the game. The Broncos have gotten so many turnovers as of late that they have not put up hardly any yards in order to score the points that they've scored. Now, I know their defense has played better. I will say this, the Lions defense has not played better. The Lions defense has definitely struggled over the past few weeks. Therefore, we think the Broncos can score. And for some reason, I think this turnover thing for them will continue, as Goff has been nothing but a turnover machine over the last few weeks, especially. I don't know what's happened to Goff, but normally when you get the turnover jitters or bug, you can't seem to shake it. So we expect that quite a bit in this game. That's why we're not real satisfied at the 4.5 number there and staying away from that. But we do like both teams to score. I could see Denver scoring 24 points here. And if that's the case, all we need is a Lions win to get over these totals. So we'll run through those Lions Broncos one more time for you. Jared Goff to throw an interception. Jared Goff over 33.5 pass attempts. Goff over 253.5 pass yards. Laporta over 4.5 receptions. Jahmyr Gibbs over 26.5 receiving yards. Lions over 13.5 team total first half and over 26.5 team total for the game. We also like the over 8.5 first quarter, 23.5 first half, and 47.5 for the game as the line keeps going up. So make sure you probably hop on this one early on this one. So it's hard to figure out what take any Broncos player props just because they haven't put up a lot of yards with anything as of late. So it's really hard to kind of figure out what they're going to do with that one. But they have been putting up points. It's just been weird. They haven't put up a lot of yards with those points, so to speak. So, we're going to roll with, we like the Lions. Their offense is definitely better if we're handicapping this than the Broncos. Their defense, I believe, is better. But for some reason that Goff wants to turn the ball over at alarming rates. So therefore, we're going to ride with some of the Lions props and that they can score points. It's just not. I think they're going to put their defense in bad positions, which normally doesn't help. So that's the Saturday slate. We're going to get into Sunday. Sunday first game. We'll get to the early games here. Chiefs at the Patriots. Chiefs 8-point favorite. Total around 37.5. I love the Chiefs. You guys, if you follow the show, you know I'm a Chiefs fan. Can somebody please explain to me what the hell the Chiefs are doing? Offensively, I understand it's been penalty calls. They can't seem to come the penalties like they have in years past with Hill and Kelsey. Kelsey's getting so much attention now that they can't seem to get him open. Of course, everybody's going to focus on the play last week. I understand that they normally give warnings there, but Tony was so far over the line, it wasn't even funny. Rashee Rice, though, continues to show why he's the number one receiver in this offense. But, pass catching wise, it's Kelsey, then Rashee Rice as receiver. I think he continues with his thing today. But we don't have a lot of plays in this game because I can't really tell you if the Chiefs are going to score more than 24, especially against this Patriots defense. So we'll get into what we got so far. We're probably going to add a couple more plays to this. So it's important, I think, for everybody to check out the Google Sheets just to see what else we've got. So we've got a few player props in this game. Mahomes over 1.5 passing touchdowns. First of all, he's at 1.5 instead of 2.5. And then over 247.5 passing yards for Mahomes as well. Rashee Rice, because I think Kelsey's going to see a lot of attention. And then you've also got Pacheco who's out. So Rashee Rice over 5.5 receptions and over 54.5 receiving yards. So one more time in this Chiefs Patriots game, over 1.5 passing touchdowns and over 247.5 yards for Mahomes. And Rashee Rice over 5.5 receptions and over 54.5 receiving yards on that particular matchup. Next game up is going to be Jets at the Dolphins. Line somewhere around 9. Miami at home, 37 total. Once again, a very low total for a big spread that's almost double digits. To break down this game, I think Zach Wilson had game of his life. Most people will probably, succumb to that fact that he had one fantastic game last week. It was kind of a shocker, but when the Texans couldn't move the ball, it made really easy for them. I don't think Miami's going to struggle in moving the ball. They might struggle to score 50 points, but I don't think they're going to struggle to move the ball at all. So if that's the case, do we think the Jets can put up 20? I don't know if they can. I don't think they can put up 20 points here in this particular matchup. But we do like the Dolphins here at home. Not enough to bet the 9, but we've got quite a few plays on them. So Tua over 218.5 passing yards. That's been his lowest mark all season. Tua to throw an interception. Zach Wilson to throw an interception. Tua over 31.5 passing attempts. And Garrett Wilson always seems to catch 5 balls for 60-plus yards. So we're going to take Garrett Wilson over 4.5 receptions. Garrett Wilson over 55.5 receiving yards. And Christian Wilkins over a quarter of a sack. It's even money right now, but that interior of that line is not good. Neither are the tackles. They should be able to be in the backfield all day long. And Wilkins is a very good defensive tackle. And to get a half a sack, I think should be pretty attainable for him. So We'll go through those bets one more time. Tua over 218.5 pass yards. Tua to throw an interception. Zach Wilson to throw an interception. Tua over 31.5 passing attempts. Garrett Wilson over 4.5 receptions and over 55.5 receiving yards. And Christian Wilkins over a quarter of a sack. Next game up is going to be Giants Saints. The Giants, ever since Tommy DeVito has come into town, it's like come into play. It's like this. They've got new life. I don't know how to explain it other than that. They're very excited. Maybe it's better leadership with DeVito over Daniel Jones. It's not. Daniel Jones has talent, but he might be like the quiet leader. DeVito's definitely more out there. He's definitely seems to get the team more riled up. That's kind of where we've got with that particular game. On that one, we do like the Giants quite a bit here. We just do not like the Saints. I think the Saints have finally figured out that Derek Carr's not the answer, but unfortunately they're stuck with him for the next couple of years. So we're going to take the points. We're either going to – this could be one of those games where the Saints blow them out by 30 or the Giants win straight up. Giants money line at almost plus 200 is not a bad play as well. But we are going to take the Giants here. We're going to take the points. We'll take Giants plus 1.5 first quarter, plus 3.5 first half, plus 5.5 for the game. We also like the Giants over 7.5 team total first half. We crushed the one last week and it was 6.5. We're going back to the well there. Giants over 16.5 team total. I think they can put up 20 points on the Saints. I don't know if they can score 30, but I definitely think they can score 20 in a lower scoring matchup on this one. We're also going to take Tommy DeVito over 178.5 pass yards. I think they're going to have to throw the ball a little bit more against the Saints to be successful. Derek Carr over 27.5 pass attempts. It's hard to move the ball against the Giants. You're going to have to throw the ball to move the ball against them. Running the ball hasn't been successful for anybody lately. Tommy DeVito over 27.5 pass attempts. I think Saquon's going to get his touches, but I think we're going to have a lot of dump-off city, so to speak. Derek Carr to throw an interception. Wan'Dale Robinson over 31.5 receiving yards. As he seemed to be the number one target now for Tommy DeVito. I know we're supposed to see the tight end coming back, but I still think Wan'Dale's going to get his yards. Saquon Barkley over 66.5 rush yards, and Kayvon Thibodeau over 3/4 of a sack. So one more time in this Giants-Saints game. Giants plus 1.5 first quarter, plus 3.5 first half, plus 5.5 for the game. Giants over the 7.5 team total first half, over 16.5 team total for the game. DeVito over 178.5 pass yards. Carr and DeVito both over 27.5 pass attempts. Derek Carr to throw an interception. Wan'Dale Robinson over 31.5 receiving yards. Barkley over 66.5 rush yards. And Kayvon Thibodeau over 3/4 of a sack. Next game up is going to be Bears-Browns. Browns at home, 3-point favorite, 38 total. Have the Browns looked like a totally different team ever since Flacco showed up? Yeah, they have. Now, they finally allowed some points at home last week. The Bears, I think, are going to struggle to find points here. I think they're probably going to get behind early to boot, which is going to lead to a lot of throwing. That's not necessarily a bad thing, I think, for the Bears. If Fields gets into the mode where he has to come back, that means he's going to run a little bit more and throw it. The Bears have been fine. I don't think they're underachieving somewhat, but they're not like the worst team in the league, right? That's definitely going to belong to the Panthers. But anybody that expected the Bears to win like 8 games this season, I think was a little delusional on what they had defensively, especially. But they have played a lot better defensively. I think trading for Montez Sweat was a big deal for them. That's definitely helped. They've got one of the better corners, Jalen Johnson, one of the better corners in the game. But I think they're going to struggle a little bit here with the Browns. I don't think the Browns are a juggernaut by any stretch of the imagination, but Joe Flacco's made them an offense that can actually move the ball up and down the field. So this particular game here, we've got Myles Garrett over 3/4 of a sack. We think that offensive line is still not good enough for the Bears, obviously. Justin Fields over 182.5 pass yards. He's going to have to throw it to somebody. So over 4.5 receptions for DJ Moore and over 62.5 receiving yards on that one. Jerome Ford for the Browns over 41.5 rush yards. Flacco over 227.5 pass yards. Justin Fields over 27.5 pass attempts. He's going to have to throw the ball 30 times, I think, for them to have a shot. And then Cole Kmet over 3.5 receptions. So it should be an interesting game, I think, between the two. We'll see if it's going to turn into that defensive battle or if Cleveland's going to come out, try to put their throat on, stomp on the throat a little bit and make the Bears come back from 14-0 or something to kind of make this a little bit easier for them. But we'll go over those plays one more time that we've got in this game. So Myles Garrett over 3/4 of a sack. Justin Fields over 182.5 pass yards. DJ Moore over 62.5 receiving yards and over 4.5 receptions. Jerome Ford over 41.5 rushing yards. I think they want to get back to running the ball if they can a little bit. Flacco over 227.5 pass yards. Fields over 27.5 pass attempts. And since we think he's going to throw on the ball a little bit more, we're also going to throw Cole Kmet over 3.5 receptions in there as well. Next game up, early window, Falcons at the Panthers. Panthers 3-point home dog, 33.5 total. The Panthers have proved why they're the worst team in the league. Doesn't matter what coach they have. Unfortunately, Bryce Young is going to get labeled like he's a bust, and when he's not, do I think he's going to be the best quarterback in the league? Probably not. Do I think he's going to be he's got an opportunity to be top 10 later on? Absolutely so. They just need to get a lot of help for him. I mean, a lot of help. Offensive line, defense has struggled lately with some injuries. Obviously, we need some pass catchers. Miles Sanders and Chuba Hubbard should be able to run the ball, but it's hard to run the ball when your line can't block anybody on that one there. So we will get the plays that we have in this Falcons. And before we get onto that, I guess, I'm not saying the Falcons are world beaters either, because I don't believe they are. I think Desmond Ridder at quarterback, if you're trying to make it a playoff push, is probably one of the worst quarterbacks to have. But he has thrown the ball pretty well, except for throwing the pick that he does every game, it seems like, on that one there. But he has thrown the ball pretty well, especially against bad defenses, and he's going against one here. So Desmond Ridder to throw an interception is obviously going to be one of our plays there. Drake London over 3.5 receptions and over 48.5 receiving yards. He's had some monsters, especially last week. We think he's going to get a minimum probably 5 catches for 60. Bijan over 63.5 rush yards and over 86.5 rushing and receiving yards combined. I don't think the Panthers impose like this big run defense. They're going to be able to stop Bijan. We also like Bijan over 14.5 rush attempts. We like the Falcons -0.5 first quarter, -1.5 first half, and -3 for the game. So we'll give you those plays one more time in this Falcons-Panthers game. Desmond Ridder to throw a pick. Drake London over 3.5 receptions and over 48.5 receiving yards. Bijan over 14.5 rush attempts, over 63.5 rush yards, and over 86.5 rushing and receiving yards combined. Falcons -0.5 first quarter, -1.5 first half, and -3 for the game. Next game up, Buccaneers-Packers. Packers have played really well, I guess, as of late, except for, donating a game there to the Giants on Monday. Kind of be expected. They were on a heater, and all of a sudden they're playing the Giants, and everybody in their world, starts reading the press clippings about how good they are. They're a 3.5-point favorite, around 42 total. The Bucs are not a great road team. They haven't been a great team overall. They just tend to stay in games. But that 3.5, I don't know if it's going to be enough. They could lose by a touchdown here as well. But we do like some props in this game that we're going to go with. So we'll go with Baker Mayfield over 212.5 pass yards. Baker Mayfield to throw a pick. Rachaad White, who's had a monster last month, is going to over 20.5 receiving yards and an anytime touchdown. And then the Bucs over 9.5 team total first half and over 19.5 team total for the game. We didn't like the line necessarily because we think the Packers could score 24 here. Would not surprise me if it's 24-20 and they save it by the hook. Wouldn't surprise me if it's like 24-21 and they get hooked. So therefore, we're going to stay away from the line, but we do like a few plays, like I said. Baker Mayfield over 212.5 pass yards. Baker Mayfield throw an interception. Rachaad White over 20.5 receiving yards. We didn't go his rushing yards because his rushing prop used to be in the 50s. Now all of a sudden we're in the 80s because he's had such a good month. The guy that couldn't hit his rushing prop for the first 8 games of the season, all of a sudden the last 6 has been tremendous. Rachaad White over 20.5 receiving yards and an anytime touchdown. Bucs over 9.5 team total first half because we think they'll put up at least 10, and then over 19.5 team total for the game. Next game up, and we're going to finish up the early window of games. Texans at the Titans. Titans 3.5-point favorite, 37 total. C.J. Stroud doubtful, which probably means not playing. Hasn't passed concussion protocol as of yet. And if you looked, his head hit that turf extremely hard there in New York when they played the Jets on that. With Davis White. How about Davis Mills at the helm? Do you have any confidence in the Texans? No, nobody does. Titans looked fantastic last week going against the Dolphins. I think one of those things, too, the Dolphins thought they were going to just breeze through that game. Next thing you know, they're in a battle and they end up losing. But we do like the Titans here in this particular matchup. Titans -0.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half, and -3.5 for the game. Davis Mills, to throw an interception. Davis Mills over 30.5 passing attempts, as they had not been able to run the ball consistently all season long, so we think he's going to have to throw it all over the place. Will Levis over 17.5 completions. Tyjae Spears, who's been really consistent as of late, over 2.5 receptions, over 15.5 receiving yards. Will Levis over 204.5 pass yards. Dalton Schultz for the Texans over 31.5 pass yards, because Mills has got to throw it to somebody. And when Mills has been the quarterback the last couple of years, tight end saw a ton of action. So one more time in this Titans-Texans game. Titans -0.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half, -3.5 for the game. Davis Mills to throw an interception. Davis Mills over 30.5 passing attempts. Will Levis over 17.5 completions. Tyjae Spears over 2.5 receptions and over 15.5 receiving yards. Will Levis over 204.5 pass yards. Dalton Schultz over 31.5 receiving yards. Now we're going to get into the late window. First one up is going to be 49ers Cardinals. 49ers somewhere around a 12-point favorite, total of 48. Last time these guys played, the 49ers ran the ball down their throat. I expect to see the same, to be really honest. The one thing about the Cardinals defense that the Steelers couldn't figure out in their last game against them is run the ball, first down, second down, and in doubt, run it on third. The 49ers will throw the ball around. You got to keep all those weapons happy, right? But the one thing you have to do consistently against the 49ers is run the ball, and I think they'll get that part done pretty easily, to say the least. So we'll give you the plays we've got in this particular game. We don't like that 12 number, but we do like the total. So we'll go Brock Purdy over 253.5 passing yards. Kyler Murray over 32.5 pass attempts, as I don't think Connor's going to be able to run the ball really well, and I expect him to be down. McCaffrey over 85.5 rush yards. That's a big number for McCaffrey, but I think he can hit it in probably 12 to 15 carries. Deebo Samuel over 14.5 rush yards. They're going to figure out multiple ways to run the ball, so we like Deebo over his rush yards. Trey McBride over 49.5 receiving yards, because Murray has to throw the ball to somebody that can catch it. 49ers over 15.5 team total first half, over 30.5 team total for the game, and over 3.5 touchdowns total. And then we like the over for the 49ers Cardinals in this one. Over 9.5 total first quarter, over 23.5 total first half, and over 48 for the game. So one more time for this game. Brock Purdy over 253.5 pass yards. Murray over 32.5 pass attempts. McCaffrey over 85.5 rush yards. Deebo Samuel over 14.5 rush yards. Trey McBride over 49.5 receiving yards. 49ers over 15.5 team total first half, over 30.5 team total for the game, and over 3.5 touchdowns, as we think 4 touchdowns, no problem. Then we also like the over 9.5 total first quarter, over 23.5 total first half, and over 48 for the game. I honestly think the 49ers are good for 35 of this. So we just need basically 14 points out of the Cardinals in order to get home there. Next game up, Commanders at the Rams. Commanders 6.5-point road dogs, 50.5 total on this game. So the Commanders allow a lot of points and score some points. The Rams like to throttle it back a little bit, especially in the second half. And when you got Kyren Williams, I understand running the ball, no problem at all. Also keeps your defense fresh. And that defense they've got some players up front, obviously with Aaron Donald leading the way up front. But the back end of that defense is a little suspect, let's put it to you that way. Against the good teams, against the bad teams, maybe not as much, but they play a ton of zone. They allow everything in front of them. So the Commanders should be able to throw the ball all over the yard. They're just going to have to keep everything short. So we do like the Commanders here, though. I just think that the Rams maybe coming back to reality a little bit. But we do like the Rams plus 2.5 first quarter, plus 3.5 first half, and plus 6.5 for the game. Sam Howell over 25.5 completions, over 38.5 pass attempts, and over 266.5 pass yards. Don't think they're going to be running the ball much here, as they haven't ran it all season long. Sam Howell interception. Puka Nacua over 66.5 receiving yards. Terry McLaurin over 57.5 receiving yards. And Cooper Kupp over 5.5 receptions. So one more time in this Commanders-Rams game. Commanders plus 2.5 first quarter, plus 3.5 first half, plus 6.5 for the game. Sam Howell over 25.5 completions, over 38.5 pass attempts, and over 266.5 pass yards for the game. Sam Howell to throw an interception. Puka Nacua over 66.5 receiving yards. McLaurin over 57.5 receiving yards. And Cooper Kupp over 5.5 receptions. In that one there. Next game up, Cowboys-Bills. Should be probably one of the better games in the first two windows on Sunday. We got Cowboys getting 50 total in Buffalo. Okay, so I will say this. The Bills have been one of the more disappointing teams. You could throw the Chiefs in there. I mean, being 8-5 is absolutely ridiculous. I understand having 3 losses, but the 2 of them have been absolute gifts, and the one against Buffalo is one of them. Buffalo has not done anything spectacular. They have a hard time scoring points unless you gift them something. They move the ball pretty freely between the 20s, but they've really struggled in the red zone. The Cowboys have not. Now, a lot of people concerned about the Cowboys on the road. I'm one of them. They're not a 40-point team on the road, but Dak has been much, much better this year on the road compared to years past. No question about it. Do I think they're throwing for 400 yards? No. Do I think the Cowboys are going to win? Yes. Because here's why. The Bills can't run the ball, and they're going to have constant pass rush, I think, going against them with this defense. Now, this defense is not as good on the road as it has been at home, as we've seen with the 49ers game, the Cardinals game, and some others. But I think they're more than equipped to beat this Bills team. But we do like Cowboys money line. Cowboys money line first quarter, Cowboys money line first half as well. Dak Prescott over 36.5 pass attempts. Josh Allen over 34.5 pass attempts. I don't know why Josh's is less than Dak, but we're going to go ahead and we'll take that one and thank you. Josh Allen interception. CeeDee Lamb, who's been a monster on the road especially, over 83.5 receiving yards. Jake Ferguson over 40.5 receiving yards. CeeDee Lamb over 6.5 receptions, and Jake Ferguson over 4.5 receptions. We think Latavius Murray, though, will get 20 rushing yards against the Cowboys. Is the one way to beat them is to run it. I think they might play Murray a little bit more than they have been in the past. And then also Micah Parsons over 3/4 of a sack. Just Parsons hasn't had one maybe in a minute, so we think Parsons gets back on track here going against the Bills, and it's the game of the week on the Sunday afternoon. So Cowboys money line first quarter and first half as well, all plus money there. Prescott over 36.5 passing attempts. Josh Allen over 34.5 pass attempts. Josh Allen to throw a pick, as he does every week. CeeDee Lamb over 83.5 receiving yards and over 6.5 receptions. Jake Ferguson over 40.5 receiving yards and over 4.5 receptions. Latavius Murray over 18.5 rushing yards, and Micah Parsons over 3/4 of a sack. Then we'll get into the Sunday night game. Somebody's going to have to explain this one to me. Jags are one of the worst home teams, yet they're only a 3.5 point home dog, 42.5 total against one of the better teams in the league, the best team in the AFC currently in the Ravens. I'm not quite sure where they came up with this number. I thought it would have been closer to 6, to be really honest with you, especially with Trevor Lawrence still being, you can be fine and not on the injury report, but a high ankle sprain is a high ankle sprain, and teams tend to struggle in that. Even Mahomes, with his high ankle sprain, he seems to be unbeatable sometimes in the playoffs, but he's had it, and he still struggled with those. But the Ravens, we did get it -0.5 first quarter, -2.5 first half. We did find them at -3 for the game as well. So we also like Lamar Jackson. We think they're going to have to throw the ball against this Jags defense, as the run defense has been really good. Over 1.5 passing touchdowns and over 210.5 passing yards. Trevor Lawrence to throw a pick. Lamar Jackson over 29.5 passing attempts. And we're going to throw the ball Odell Beckham. So we're going to take over 37.5 receiving yards. Isaiah Likely over 32.5 receiving yards. Parker Washington over 24.5 receiving yards for the Jags, as he's been Lawrence's favorite target as of late, it seems like. Ravens over 10.5 team total first half and over 23.5 team total for the game. And also Justin Tucker over 1.5 field goals, which was only minus 120, and they kick a lot of field goals, the Ravens do. So we'll give you that Ravens-Jags game one more time. Ravens minus a half first quarter, minus 2.5 first half, minus 3 for the game. Lamar Jackson over 1.5 passing touchdowns, over 210.5 passing yards, and over 29.5 pass attempts. Trevor Lawrence throw an interception. Odell Beckham over 37.5 receiving yards. Parker Washington over 24.5 receiving yards. Isaiah Likely over 32.5 receiving yards. Ravens over 10.5 team total first half, and Ravens over 23.5 team total for the game. And then Justin Tucker over 1.5 field goals. I've mentioned this before. At the end of every episode, you will see a link to our Google Sheet. This is a ledger of all of our bets, what juice we got those at, how many units we're playing, and what book we placed those at. So make sure you do check that out. Like I said, there's well over 100 bets here for NFL, and we're probably going to add some more. Obviously, we're only on Friday, and we normally put this out on Saturday. So it might be a few player props to show up, things of that nature. So do make sure you check out the Google Sheet there. That'll give you a ledger of everything we got going on. Also, if you want to see basketball, or if you want to see football or baseball last year where we ended up, you can see all of those. So make sure you do check that out. And as always, if you can subscribe and get notifications to the YouTube channel, so we drop our bets, you get those first. Makes life really simple. Don't have to go searching around on YouTube. You just get a notification to your phone or device to let you know Sports Bets for Free has dropped some new bets. So like I said, make sure you get that done as well. We do appreciate everybody's support as always, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode.